What's up, boxing fans? This is TBE Boxing, back at you again. Today's topic, Crawford, two-time undisputed. Where in the world is Derek James? There are questions he needs to answer. Let's chop it up and see what it's all about.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before riches, huh? That life before riches, huh? Pretty bitch, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you get it.
Okay, boxing fans, let's talk some boxing. So the big fight is over with. It's been almost 2 weeks now since the fight has ended. We saw Iceman Bud Crawford stopped Errol the Truth Spence in the ninth round in a brutal, in brutal fashion. It was a great fight. Errol Spence tried his best. However, he was just outclassed, outperformed, and outfought by Terence Crawford. It was a great fight. So now, you know, now that the fight is over with, people are talking about the fight, and they're asking people questions. We got a chance to see Errol Spence talk about the fight, in the post fight press conference, and he was pretty beat up, but he stayed and he answered questions, and Derek James was there. He answered one or two questions himself. But the conversation continues, and it's almost 2 weeks after the fight now, and people are still discussing the fight, talking about it, and you have commentators, you have YouTubers, you have you saw we seen Terence Crawford on TV, people interviewing him about the fight, but we haven't seen Derek James. Derek James is missing. No one knows where Derek James is. You would think that Derek James would be out answering questions and talking about what happened, and explaining to the people what went wrong, but we haven't seen Derek James at all on any interview whatsoever since the post-fight press conference. He's gone missing. Now that's pretty strange, I would think, but it's understandable, under the circumstances, because as you all know, Derek James was talking a lot prior to this fight. During the build-up, he said a lot, and not just during the build-up, but over the years. When people have been talking about this fight with Terence Crawford and talking, trying to get the fight made, Derek James was one of the people that was always kind of like throwing cold water on the idea of Crawford fighting Spence. He always basically it didn't look like he wanted that fight for whatever reason. Now that we saw the results of that fight, we kind of, it's kind of understandable why he never wanted to fight. I think anyway. I mean, that's my opinion. So we're gonna look at the videotape, and we're gonna, look at some receipts and see, some of the things that Derek James was talking about prior to the fight and during the build-up. As you can see on this picture, there's Sean Zettel from Fight Hype, also FightHype.com. He's one of the most prolific guys that cover boxing on YouTube. Make sure you go and check out this video and the rest of his videos. He's pretty good at what he does. Shout out to Sean Zettel. So in this clip right here, I took from the in this clip or in this picture, uh, you see a picture of Sean Zettel, and he's asking the question, who's the better puncher when it goes down? And he said Bud has 10 KO, and you saw what Derek James said. Yeah, but 10 knockout against who? Bud has the weakest resume of pound for pound fighters. Now he didn't say that second part in that particular video where Zettel asked him that question. He said it at a later date, but he did say it. So we're gonna take a look at the videotape, people, and we're gonna hear what Derek James said prior to the fight and some of the things he said about Crawford. Now we gotta considering how the fight ended and how the fight went, what Derek James was saying prior to the fight is very important. And this is one of the reasons why we need to see Derek James and ask him some questions about what was his strategy going to the fight, what was his plan A, plan B, plan C, and exactly what was he thinking, and what was he doing, and what happened basically, because none of the things that Derek James said would happen happened. Okay, I mean, as a matter of fact, everything that he said was the exact opposite. Okay, and so there's a lot of questions to be answered. But let's get to the videotape and see what we're talking about.
Derek, who's the better puncher when it goes down? Crawford got 10 knockouts in a row, but Spence looks like the heavy-handed, natural.
10 knockouts in a row against who?
Some solid guys along the way. Shawn Porter.
To be fair,
oh man, Shawn Porter's daddy said I was gonna stop the fight before the fight. Didn't he say that? So what does that mean?
I think
No. What that?
Okay, let's hold it right there for a second. So there you see Derek James saying that Shawn Porter daddy said he was going to stop the fight before the fight. Now, this is a pretty important point right here, because as we all know, a lot of people are saying that the fight with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence should have been stopped, but it wasn't. It was the referee that stopped it. Derek James didn't throw in the towel or try to stop the fight. So, the question needs to be asked, was Derek James thinking about this statement he's making right now while he was in the ring with Errol Spence, deciding whether or not he should stop the fight or not? I mean, because you hear what he's saying about Shawn Porter. So you can imagine if Derek James had stopped the fight like Shawn Porter's daddy did, then people would have been questioning him about that as well. So I'm wondering if Derek James didn't stop the fight because he didn't want nobody to ask him about this particular point right here that he was making about Shawn Porter and his dad. You know what I mean? So it is what it is. But let's continue.
There was a power struggle going on in the ring. And what did Shawn do when his dad did stop the fight? What did he do? He retired and didn't tell him. Asked him when the last time he talked to his dad. The night they was in the corner. He had not spoke to him anymore.
So Derek.
So there was a power struggle going on. The father wanted to prove him that he still was the boss.
Now, what does that have to do with anything? He's going all into Shawn Porter's and his father's business. I mean, that's already public knowledge anyway, that what happened. So what's the point of that? They asked him about, the power of Crawford. But as you can see, for some reason, Derek James just can't give a straight answer when it comes to Crawford. For some reason, he just, he just refused to give a straight answer. And you heard what he said about the power of Terence Crawford. 10 knockout against who? But let's continue.
Coach James, you got 3 belts with Errol. You got 3 belts with Jermell.
Yeah.
That's 6 belts for you.
Right.
How does that feel, and where do you go from there? You look to get 8?
That was Champside asking ridiculous questions, about belts. Let's try to get past that.
Trainer of the year list, I've seen him.
But was a little bit overstated.
I mean, I don't know.
Derek, I just wanted to kind of piggyback off Shawn's statement when he said Crawford has 10 knockouts in a row, and then you said again too. So are you kind of saying that Crawford?
I'm just saying he hadn't faced the same competition, same level of competition.
But are you kind of also saying that Crawford's power is a little bit overstated?
I mean, I don't know. I never seen him fight like 2 or 3 times. I don't watch a lot of boxing. I do not watch boxing, but I'll start watching him when we start training for the fight.
Okay, you heard that. He doesn't watch a lot of boxing. They asked him if he watched Terence. He doesn't watch. He only saw him fight 2 or 3 times, and he doesn't watch a lot of boxing. Now you're the trainer, okay, of Errol Spence. You're training to fight Terence Crawford. You say you're going to watch Terence Crawford when the fight is made, but you would think that you would watch Terence Crawford just to do your due diligence, because this fight has been talked about for the last 5 years. So you would think in all that time that Derek James didn't really watch Crawford fight at all, and he's talking, and every time someone asks him about Crawford, he has a lot to say. But he never watched Crawford fight at all, and he's only going to watch him while the fight is made. So, the question got to be asked, did Derek James actually watch Crawford fights? Did he, what did he do? I mean, is that what we are looking at? Is that the result of him not watching, or paying attention to Crawford's power or watching any of Crawford's fights? Because we saw what happened in the ring. And, one thing, people could say what they want, but one thing we can all agree on is that Errol Spence was not prepared for Terence Crawford on July 29th. He was not prepared for the Terence Crawford that came into that ring, and that's clear to anyone, whether you're an Errol Spence fan or not. Okay, we can agree on that. He was not prepared. So the point is that Derrick James is the one responsible for getting him prepared. But the person responsible for getting Errol Spence prepared totally underestimated his opponent. Every time you heard Derrick James talk about Terence Crawford, it was in a derogatory fashion and in a way that he was underestimating Terence Crawford's abilities, like when he said 10 knockout against who. So and he also, like he said, that Terence Crawford had the weakest resume of all pound for pound fighters. So if you have such disregard for your fight, for the opponent that your fighter is going to face, how can your fighter be adequately prepared? I don't understand that. I mean, I would think if you think that Terence Crawford is nothing, he ain't fighting anybody, and so why would you go out of your way to prepare your fighter to fight Terence Crawford? You probably won't. You probably you took the fight lightly. Okay, so this is apparently what happened. I mean, what other explanation is there? So we need to find out from Derrick James what actually happened, what went on. We need to ask some questions about what went on with this fight. But he's disappeared and nobody can't seem to find him, which is, seems kind of strange to me, So, but just to show you, how dismissive Derrick James was of Terence Crawford and his abilities, we're going to take a look at another videotape and we're going to show some more receipts that Derrick James totally underestimated Crawford. Now, I thought Derrick James was just capping when he was saying all those things about Terence Crawford, because I'm thinking, he's a trainer. He has, he trained fighters, so you should know what he's looking at as a trainer. And all these other trainers are talking about Terence Crawford in the way they did and not giving him high praise about his abilities and, and all the fights that he had. And yet Derrick James was just totally dismissive. So, I mean, I just don't get it. Why couldn't he see what everybody else saw in Terence Crawford, and why wasn't his fighter prepared to fight Terence Crawford? I mean, he claimed that Terence Crawford, his level of opposition was weak, but yet still he knocked out Errol Spence in the ninth round. So, but take a look at this videotape. This is Derrick James checking Terence Crawford's glove after the fight. Take a look at this. This is amazing. So here it is. Terence Crawford is going over to give Derrick James a dap and to say something to Errol Spence. Okay, look at what Derrick James does. He grabs the glove of Terence Crawford, right? And he's going to squeeze it. Watch. Right there. See, he squeezes the glove of Terence Crawford to check. He's checking for something. Look, and look at his face. Look at Derrick James' face, people. Take a good look. Watch this. We're going to look at it again. Watch. He's checking the glove. Boom. He's squeezing it. See if there's anything in there. Look at his face. Look at there. I'm pausing the video so you can see his face. Look at his face. What you're looking at right there is Derrick James in total shock and disbelief. Look at his face. He is in total shock and disbelief. He's shell-shocked. Okay, that's called being shell-shocked. That's how bad it was. This is right after the fight, and they're still in the ring. And look at Derrick James' face. Look at it. It's like, he's like, what the? Look at him. He's in total shock and disbelief. He had to actually check Terence Crawford's glove to see, if he had something in there in his glove, because he just couldn't believe the power of Terence Crawford. The very same guy that he claimed 10 knockouts against who? And that his power, basically it's saying that Terence Crawford's power, is overrated. And he's fighting, inferior opponents. But look at his face. So it looks like Derrick James just really wasn't capping. He actually believed what he was saying about Terence Crawford. Okay, this is what we are looking at here. Look at his face, in total shock. Oh my goodness, I mean, this is wild. Let's look at it again. The glove, he's going to check the glove secretly. clandestinely. He's checking it. Boom, he's squeezing it. He's looking at Terence Crawford. Look at his face. Look at that look on his face. In total shock and disbelief. His mouth hanging open. Look at him. Wow. So, yeah. So it looks like Derrick James actually believed the thing that he was saying. Now, the question is this. If Derrick James, who's the guy that's, responsible for training Errol Spence to prepare for Terence Crawford, and he believed the stuff that he was talking, then how could he adequately prepare Errol Spence for Terence Crawford? He can't. Because he was believing all that nonsense that he was talking, basically. Okay? So, this is just more proof that Errol Spence was ill prepared to face Terence Crawford because his coach totally underestimated the opponent. And I'm thinking that passed itself down to Errol Spence, and Errol Spence probably underestimated him as well. Okay? All this talk about, breaking Errol Spence and, walking him down and imposing his will and his size on him. I mean, breaking down Crawford, imposing his size and his will on Terence Crawford, as Derrick James was talking about. He's gonna break him. I mean, this guy, I don't know. So, I mean, the fight ended the way it did. Okay. So now we need to ask Derrick James some questions, right? Like, what happened? What happened to plan A, plan B? Did you have a plan B or plan C? Why didn't it turn out the way you wanted to turn out? What did you do in there when you saw what was going on? There's a lot that Derrick James needs to answer to. I mean, what do you think about Crawford's abilities now? Do you still think that his resume was weak? Do you still think that Danny Garcia and Dennis Ugas are better fighters than Errol Spence? I mean, because the way he talks about Ugas and Danny Garcia is like they were the best fighters in the world, but he constantly disparaged and he made derogatory comments about Terence Crawford, a guy that was undisputed at 140 pounds, where Danny campaigned at, and now we see that he's Crawford's undisputed at 147, where Spence has been campaigning his whole career. So at the end of the day, people, Derrick James have a lot to answer for, and we want to ask him some questions. And it's not just me that want to hear what he has to say, but I think Spence fans have some questions for Derrick James as well. Okay, so whether you're a Spence fan or a Crawford fan, people want to ask Derrick James some questions, but Derrick James is in the wind. Okay, he's missing. No one seems to know where he is. He hasn't been on any of these YouTube channels since the fight. He's not answering any questions. So it looks like we're gonna have to search him out, look him up, find out where he is, drag him into drag him onto YouTube and ask him these questions, because it's like he's not gonna come voluntarily wherever he is. So yeah, it's another dragging. At the end of the day, for 5 years we've been trying to drag Errol Spence to the ring with Crawford. And it would seem that we're gonna have to drag Derrick James onto YouTube or some media outlet to answer some questions, because he's not coming voluntarily. So again, people, the question is, where is Derrick James? Is he in hiding? At this point in time, no one seems to know. But that was a great question by Shawn Porter. Again, shout out to Shawn Porter. Like I said, one of the most prolific guys on YouTube right now. He's very good at what he does, on YouTube. And make sure you go and check out his videos. And you probably get a lot of information from him. You got one of the best channels on YouTube. So, people, it looks like we might have to wait the same amount of time to hear from Derrick James that we had to wait to get this Crawford and Spence fight. Maybe 5 years, it looks like, because it looks like Derrick James is not going to come out and answer any questions. Okay? You saw how shell-shocked he was. He's probably still recovering from the fight. So I guess we just have to wait and see how everything plays out. So with that said, I'm going to leave it there. This is TBE Boxing saying, I'm out.
Got the money for minutes, pretty bitch, gotta show me titties. This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? This is the life that I chose, huh? On the block with the pole, huh? That life before Richard, huh? The life before riches, huh? Pretty rich, show me titties, huh? And I got the glazzy run up on me, I'ma make you get it. I'ma make you